Lesson number 69, and Carol puts this into a pyramid, and there are 4 levels to that pyramid. The top level is philanthropic, which is all about the idea that you must be a good corporate citizen and that your company should give, in Anita Roddick's famous phrase, public good, not private greed. So business should all be about the public good and not about just making more and more money. Right, so philanthropic is at the top of the pyramid, but the bottom is economic. You've got to be able to make a profit to be able to be in business. That's the number one thing. And a friend of mine often talks about, profit is just a sign of success, and that's why a lot of business people that he knows want to make money. There you have legal responsibilities. You must be ethical as well, and lastly, philanthropic as on top of that. So to have a good corporate social responsibility policy, you must fulfill all those 4 functions. What are they? Well, you must be profitable, the foundation upon which all the others are rest. You must do all this within the law. So most firms would have to do that. It's society's codification of right and wrong. So you have legal responsibilities, not to pollute the environment or to pay above the minimum wage or something like that. If you're ethical, to do what is right and fair and avoid harm. So that is the beyond bit, beyond the economic and legal bit. And lastly, be a good corporate citizen, and in Anita Roddick's phrase, public good and not just about private greed. So this is all about, if you fulfill all of these functions, then you are having a good corporate social responsibility policy. Okay? Now, if we go back to Carol's definition of corporate social responsibility, remember you've got the 4 levels. You've got economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic at the top, which is all about giving to the community. And if you give to the community, then a lot of people are going to become motivated, and not just the community, but also the employees. It may be a reason why the employees will want to go and work for that particular firm. Right. But to what extent is it now essential for firms to place greater importance on environmental and ethical issues in their operations? Well, let's give you one view. Friedman, free market guy, his big idea was always the shareholder view, that really, we just look at the bottom 2 levels of Carol's pyramid, the economic and the legal responsibilities of a firm. That the responsibility of a firm is to make money for their shareholders, because the shareholders invest money in that firm, they want a return, and it's a job of the firm to maximise those returns, as long as they keep within the law. Okay? Now, that's his view, which is fine. Now, if firms do all of that, then firms will produce good products, and therefore society will be better off anyway. Right. However, the other view of that is Anita Roddick's view, public good, not private greed. Now, it is not essential that all firms have a corporate social responsibility policy, or that all firms place a lot of importance on environmental and ethical concerns. Okay? Primark is a case in point. Primark admits to using low-cost labour in Bangladesh to produce its clothes, so therefore those in the richer part of the world, e.g. the West, can buy clothes cheaply. However, even they have been stung by the fact that they may be using child labour and they may be paying very, very low wages. They would actually argue that Primark's a good thing because they pay more than other suppliers. However, when you really dig into it, this may not be the case. Right. So they would not pretend that they are environmentally aware and ethically a great company. That's not really their selling point. Their selling point is price. However, they have been damaged. So to a degree, it is important that they place some importance on environmental and ethical operations. With the Body Shop and the Ben & Jerry's, the whole of their firm is built upon the fact, in the case of the Body Shop, that they do not test on animals and that they use natural products and they only do their trials on human beings. Right. So for them, it's not just a PR exercise. Now, for them, it's clearly worked. Okay, it's still a high risk strategy. It could have backfired because the products are more expensive. However, right? Their companies have done well, they've created a unique selling point, they've differentiated their product, which is in a way linked to Porter's model, differentiation. They're able to tie higher prices, high gross margins, and therefore they make money. Even though they've now been brought out by L'Oreal, who do test on animals. But the Body Shop still has a policy of not testing on animals, although somewhere in the press this is disputed. Now, if it is found that they're not being ethical, then the Body Shop is going to be in for a very, very hard time indeed. Okay, so we're going to carry on with this essay here. So here we're still looking at corporate social responsibility, and remember Carol's model, 4 levels: economic, legal, ethical and philanthropic at the top. Now here we're looking at the essay. Is it essential for firms to adopt a CSR strategy, or is it essential that all firms are more environmentally aware and ethically responsible? Now the first firm that we're going to have a look at is Primark. Well, Primark does have some concerns towards its workers. However, primarily it does not really have a CSR strategy. It's been very successful. It follows a policy of cost minimisation. It's done particularly well. It is based on price. There's a high price elasticity of demand. Therefore, they can reduce their price. They can sell their goods. If they make them cheaply, then they're still going to make money with a reasonable gross margin, etc. Okay, but however, Marks and Spencer's, they also have an environmentally aware policy, and they've actually saved money out of it in their packaging and saving on energy. They say they save £50 million a year. General Electric, an engineering company, they have found that going green has offered them an extra revenues of £70 billion a year. Now the green energy market by the year 2020 will be $22 trillion. Now if you are going to that market, then also you're being green and you're being ethically aware, so therefore you should gain extra kudos because of that. However, it hasn't worked for all companies. BP went down the ethical route, and they're the big play on the policy of BP stood for Beyond Petroleum, and one day oil would run out, so they would invest in new renewable technologies. And when they had this policy, it was very, very successful. Their share price went up by 250%. However, they've been hit by quite a few disasters over the years. They're one of the most hated companies now in America because of the Horizon disaster. So people no longer believe in what they say, and they've got a lot of bad publicity about it. So I think the big thing from then is, if you pretend you're going to go green and then you're not green, then your share price and your company is going to be hit hard. I've already spoken about Primark, but also Ryanair. I mean, their big thing is price, their big thing is cost minimisation, and that's what they sell themselves on. A bit like Freeman's idea, so we can analyse cost minimisation. It's been very successful for them. They do not need to have a CSR strategy. It would look a little bit odd if they did have one. That would add extra cost to them. I think a really interesting case in point is Virgin, who are very, very keen on their brand. So they've got a very edgy brand. They take on the status quo. But Richard Branson has actually played this one very, very well, because he says, look, we do pollute the environment. However, we are also willing to invest in green technology. So although they want to have a space rocket or space travel for the average human being, as long as you can afford 150,000 quid, right, which obviously pollutes the environment, but they say, but they will also invest money into green technology as well. And they also, I think they've had a big prize on, any green idea that would extract carbon emissions from the environment. So they are sort of like, however, they do have a corporate social responsibility strategy, right? But they don't pretend that they are all clean. And because of that, they've been able to build up the brand of Virgin. And they've also been willing to invest enormous sums of money into green technology. But that could also be a bit like General Electric. That could be a huge opportunity for them to make even more money by going green, because it's a huge market worth $20 trillion. So the conclusion is it essential that all firms follow a CSR strategy? No, it's not. It is good branding. It does work for firms. Some firms are able to create a unique selling point out of it, But I think there's a nice contrast here within the firms. We've got Primark and Ryanair, who essentially follow a cost minimisation strategy. The Body Shop certainly followed their CSR strategy, although they're now being hit because people are now questioning some of their policies, and they say that they do tests on animals and they're not paying their workers enough money and they still make very large profits, and it's no longer about the public good. So you can have a nice discussion about whether or not it's essential that firms have a corporate social responsibility strategy or are concerned about the environment or ethical issues.